The Olympic break is finally coming to an end as NASCAR heads to Richmond this upcoming weekend. But I thought we'd go over a little bit of NASCAR history, talking about maybe one of the most important races in NASCAR history, a turning point in some ways. I'm talking about the 1999 Goodies Headache Powder 500, also known as the Bristol Night Race. Hello everyone, my name is Kyle, aka Racing Boy Short, and this is my channel where I talk NASCAR news and everything NASCAR. So a little bit of NASCAR history. A lot of us know about Bristol Motor Speedway and the legendary night race. The night race at Bristol Motor Speedway has produced a lot of great moments and great memories over the years. Anywhere from Jeff Gordon giving the bump and run to Rusty Wallace, or even just last year when Denny Hamlin claimed he beat your favorite driver. But arguably the most legendary and most memorable moment is the moment in 1999 at Bristol Motor Speedway where Dale Earnhardt rattled Terry Labonte's cage. Before we get to the very exciting finale of this race, we got to start at the beginning, and starting on the pole was a young rookie making his way from open wheel racing to stock cars, and I'm talking about a very young Tony Stewart. Tony Stewart, also known as Smoke, led over 200 laps in this event at Bristol Motor Speedway, a very great race from the young driver from Joe Gibbs Racing. Another driver that had pretty good speed, I'd say, at Bristol, and it comes to no surprise, was Rusty Wallace. Rusty Wallace was the king of the short tracks in the 90s, even into the early 2000s. He was always up front, competing for many victories on any sort of short track on the NASCAR Tour. Rusty Wallace would end up facing some issues throughout the event, and then I'd say the last really great driver throughout this race, until we got to the very end, those last 100 laps, was Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon at this time, in this era of NASCAR, was pretty much dominant anywhere we went, was getting win after win after win in the late 90s. This was definitely an adventurous race, which ended up creating some strategy when it came to pit strategy, when it came to fuel, when it came to tires, which put a couple of different drivers in a great position to win the event. Some of these drivers included Ricky Rudd, Dale Earnhardt, Terry Labonte, and even during all of this strategy, there was a very interesting moment that happened just a little bit after lap 400. Dave Marcis was unable to make it to pit road, so they actually had to throw out a caution flag. They would later hold Marcis for a lap. There was a lot of conversation, a lot of talk that Dave Marcis potentially could have brought this caution out intentionally to help Dale Earnhardt in his efforts to win the Bristol Night Race, as the 71 has an agreement essentially with RCR, working very close together, a satellite team, I guess you could say. So a lot of people, including NASCAR, thought Dave Marcis had done this intentionally to help Dale Earnhardt have a great shot at winning the Bristol Night Race. It looked like this point forward, it was either going to be Terry Labonte or Dale Earnhardt winning at Bristol Motor Speedway. Just a couple of years before, and they even showed the highlight during the closing laps at Bristol Motor Speedway. It was Earnhardt versus Labonte in 1995, where Terry Labonte actually got the bumper from Dale Earnhardt approaching the start-finish line and wrecked across the start-finish line, actually had his totaled race car in victory lane. Well, once again here in the late goings, it is Labonte versus Earnhardt. Labonte's leading. Earnhardt eventually takes the lead, but not too long after that, with around 50 laps to go, Terry Labonte would take the lead back from Dale Earnhardt and looked like he was going to drive away without looking back. So Terry Labonte looked like he had this race in the bag with around 10 laps to go. We had an incident on the racetrack. Terry Labonte slows up for the incident. He has Darrell Waltrip right behind him. Waltrip runs over the race leader, spinning Labonte around with only a few laps remaining in the race at Bristol, which would essentially set up an epic dash to the finish, because during these green flag runs, Terry Labonte lapped most of the field. There was only around 10 cars on the lead lap heading into this final restart. So Labonte, Ricky Rudd, a couple of different drivers came down pit lane to get fresh Goodyears on this last restart. You have to keep in mind, during this era, there was no green-white checkered, so it was a 500-lap event, and that's how many laps they were going to run. They weren't going to extend it by a lap. They weren't going to throw a red flag to clean up the track. If there was another caution, most likely that would end the race. This was a big risk by these drivers taking 4 fresh Goodyears. Well, during these last few laps, Terry Labonte, Ricky Rudd, these drivers were tearing up the field, flying up to the front in those last remaining laps. And then with just 3 laps to go, Labonte has finally gotten to Dale Earnhardt. He makes the pass on Dale Earnhardt, and I watched it back. It just clearly looks like, to me, Earnhardt backs out way early going into turn 1, knowing it is his last chance to win the race. If Labonte drives away, there's no way he is winning this event unless Labonte blows a tire or self-spins or something like that. So Dale Earnhardt decided to take matters into his own hands as he backs up the entry of turn 1, sends it into the corner, gets Terry Labonte, and gets the victory. There's intentional wrecks, and then there's the intentional wreck. When we're talking about intentional wrecks, this is the definition. This is what would be in the dictionary for an intentional wreck right here. But it's one of also the biggest moments in the history of NASCAR, because Dale Earnhardt would go on to, like I said, win the event after spinning out Terry Labonte. But this race was a very historic event. We all know Dale Earnhardt as the Intimidator. He's caused a lot of incidents, has shown a lot of aggression throughout his career. He was one of the best, if not the best, who ever did it. But in years past, prior to this event at Bristol Motor Speedway, aggression, bump and run, stuff like that has been okay. But stuff like this, where it's clear that you intentionally took somebody out to win the event, that the winner of the event would get penalized and the win would be handed down to second place, which in this case, it would give the win to Jimmy Spencer. There was a lot of drivers in post-race, including Terry Labonte himself, who thought Dale Earnhardt would get a penalty or something for this incident, but he did not. And it really kind of changed NASCAR from that point forward, as we saw even more aggression from more drivers brought into the sport, because NASCAR at this point was letting everybody know that they weren't going to police something like this. Dale Earnhardt did what he had to do to win that race, and that's one of the reasons why he's considered to be the greatest by many NASCAR fans. Dale Earnhardt gets the win at Bristol Motor Speedway, then goes into victory lane and gives possibly one of the most legendary, if not the most legendary, interview in NASCAR history. Take a listen to a clip of the interview he gave in victory lane, where he gave the legendary quote of "He rattled his cage."
Here's a McDonald's winner's circle, Jerry Punch.
Well, Dale Earnhardt climbs out with his 9th victory at Bristol. And Dale, that's what Bristol's all about. Take us through those last couple laps.
Well, we knew we didn't get tires, and I didn't know who got tires behind us. All I knew is I needed to protect that bottom and try to go. And Terry got into me in the middle of 3 and 4, and I was going to get back to him and just rattle him. I wasn't going to wreck him, but I got to him and he turned him around. So didn't mean to really turn around, meant to rattle his cage over.
At one point or another, if you watch NASCAR or if you talk NASCAR, whatever, it doesn't really matter. If you have any involvement with NASCAR, you've heard this quoted at one point or another. Oh, I just wanted to rattle his cage. He rattled his cage. Like, used in whatever way possible. This is why. One of the best interviews given in NASCAR history. One of the best moments in NASCAR history. A very controversial moment as well. There was a lot of boos coming from the crowd during this evening. But it's a night that NASCAR and its fans will never forget. And that was the story of the day he rattled his cage. I appreciate anybody who tuned in for this. Just a quick little breakdown of a historic race. There was no race once again this weekend, so I figured I'd do something a little bit different. I did one of these a while ago with John Andretti with his win at Martinsville. So if you want to listen to another one of these that may not be as well produced, I'd say, take a listen to A Drive of a Lifetime. Came out a couple of months ago. It's here on my channel. Also, let me know if you want me to do more videos like this. I wouldn't do a video like this every week, but I would like to maybe do some more historical sort of NASCAR stuff. So give me your opinions down in the comments on what you thought of this video, and should I maybe do more? And also let me know what you thought of this story. Did you maybe see this race live on TV? That would be great to hear. If this is your first time even ever hearing about this legendary race, let me know down below and your overall opinions of Bristol Motor Speedway and its phenomenal history, as we do actually head to Bristol in a couple of weeks on the Cup Series circuit. Once again, I appreciate anybody who tuned in. If you haven't already, I would appreciate you subscribing to the channel, because I do multiple NASCAR videos throughout the week. But that'll do it for me. Thanks for watching. My name is Kyle, aka Racing Boy Short, saying peace.